And let's begin. So again, we're starting with those deadlifts. So feet are under our hips, and we're bringing those dumbbells down to mid shin, back is straight, and then pulling them up against our legs, making sure to keep the weights close to our legs. And making sure when you're at the top here, squeeze your bum together. Good job. Then we're moving into our thrusters, which again is just a fancy word for a squat into a shoulder press. So bringing those dumbbells up on our shoulder, we're going to go down into a squat and come back up and push those dumbbells overhead. And this should be one swift motion. And again, if you're not doing unassisted or air squats, we're squatting onto a bench or a chair of some sorts. And then once our bum hits that bench, we're going to come back upwards and push those dumbbells over our heads. And good job. Now we're going to do those side bends. So putting one of our dumbbells to the side, just having one in our hands, our opposite hand on our hip, feet are under our hips, and we're bending down towards that dumbbell and then up through the other way. And remember, making sure that our body is staying straight the whole time. We're not bending out front or bending backwards. We're nice and straight throughout the movement. And then switching sides, so taking that dumbbell into our other hand, putting our other hand on our hip, down towards the dumbbell through neutral spine, and pull the other way. So really trying to squeeze those abs or our core and our oblique muscles here on the side. And good job. Now we're going to move into those push-ups. So again, take whatever option works best for you. So that could be down on the floor on your knees, that could be on an elevated surface or against the wall. I'm going to come down to my knees and do them. And making sure that our bum is nice and straight with our body. We don't want our bum to be way up or way low like that. We want from our shoulders to our hips to our knees to be a straight line throughout the entire movement. And good job. Then our next movement is going to be our bent over rows. So grabbing your dumbbells again. Now we're going to have a slight bend in our knees, hinge at our hips, bring those dumbbells out to our sides, and we're pulling those dumbbells up into our armpits. Making sure to really squeeze our back here at the top. And again, you can do this with a band. You would just wrap the band under your feet and pull the band up towards your armpits. And again, if that ever hurts your back, then I want you to do some upright rows. So after that one, we're going into our bicep curl to shoulder press. So starting with those dumbbells out in front of our thighs, our palms are facing outwards, curling those dumbbells up to our shoulders, switching our palms so they're facing the other way, and back up over our head. And let's do one more rep. And good job. Then we're gonna go back to the top of that strength piece. And we're gonna do this one more time. So again, starting with our deadlifts, our feet are directly under our hips, weights out in front, and we're hinging at our hips to bring those dumbbells down to our mid shin, keeping our back straight, and pulling those dumbbells up along our legs until we reach full extension and squeeze our glutes at the top. And good job. Now we're gonna move into those thrusters. Again, that's just a fancy word for an air squat into a shoulder press. So starting with that squat, going down, and then pushing those dumbbells overhead in one fluid motion. And again, if you're not doing an unassisted squat, then you're gonna squat onto a bench or a chair. And once your bum hits, you're gonna come back up and push those dumbbells overhead. So just like an air squat, when you guys are going down, I want you to make sure that your chest is nice and up high. We don't want to be falling down and our chest low. We want our chest nice and high and then pushing upwards and overhead. Good work. Then we're going to go into our side bends. So just with one dumbbell in our hand, our other arm is on our hip, on our opposite hip. Our feet are directly under our hips. Then we're going to bend to the side of our dumbbell and come through neutral spine to the other way. And making sure our body is staying nice and straight throughout the whole movement. We don't want to be leaning forward. We don't want to be leaning backwards. And then switching arms. And our opposite hand again is on our hip. Bending towards that dumbbell, coming through and bending through the other side. Really making sure to engage our core muscles and our obliques. And good job. Now we're moving into those push-ups again. So we can put those weights to the side and take whatever push-up variation feels good to you today. So you can do them again from your toes, like so. You can do them from your knees, or you could do them onto an elevated surface like the table or onto a wall. And again, making sure that from your shoulders to your bum to your hips is a nice straight line. Good job. Then our next movement is going to be our bent over rows again. So slight bend at our knees, hinge at your hips. Then bringing those dumbbells up to our armpits, making sure to squeeze our back at the top. Again, if that's painful on our back, we're going to do some upright rows, just like so, making sure to pull from your elbows rather than your wrists. And good job. Now we're going to move into our last movement before we go into yoga, and we're going to do some bicep curls to a shoulder press. This time, I want you guys to have your palms facing each other. So do a hammer curl, keep your palms facing each other, and then press overhead. And remember, we're engaging our core throughout all these movements. And we're taking this nice and slow and controlled throughout the whole movement pattern. And let's do 2 more reps. And 1 more. And done. So you can take a minute just to grab your water or whatever you need. So for our yoga, like I mentioned before, hopefully you have a blanket or a rug or a towel or something that you could lay on preferably not a hardwood surface, but something a bit more cushiony. Then what you're also going to need is, I don't have a yoga block here at the clinic, so what you can use instead is a couple of towels just stacked up like this, or you could also use a rolled up blanket or a rolled up pillow, just something that'll have a nice cushiony surface. So I have my mat set up already. I'm going to put my rolled up towels to the side so I'm able to use those. And then I also have a yoga strap. You don't need this. You could also use a towel as well when we get to that portion. So I'm going to test this out. Let me know how you feel with the lights off. Is that too dark for you guys, or is that still okay?
That's fine.
Okay, good. You guys can still see. And then maybe I'll try to bring the computer a bit closer. All right, so bear with me. This is my first time teaching yoga, so we're all kind of starting here together. So hopefully everyone has their mats nearby. And then if you want, I like to take off my socks so I have a bit more grip on my feet. And then I'm just going to set up my timer and my clock. All right. And hopefully you guys have kind of a Zen space that you can do this in from your homes. That's why I thought I would turn off the lights here just to make it a bit more chill. So we're going to start in a standing Tadasana pose. So our feet are just nice and under our hips. Our body is nice and relaxed. And we're just going to take some deep breaths together. So Try to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. If you want, you can close your eyes during this. And I want you guys to really just try to be mindful and present to the moment right now. Try not to think about everything that you have going on in your day. Try to just be here today. Taking some nice deep breaths. And start by rolling out our shoulders. And then just switching the other way. And if you guys find that you can't really turn off your brain, just try to focus on taking nice deep breaths. Try to focus just on your breath work. All right. Then from here, we're going to go into a forward bend. So just leaning over and letting your bodies stay here. Trying to release some of that tension in our back body throughout our low back, our hamstrings, our calves. If you need, you can always hold on to something here for support. So if you have a chair nearby, you can grab onto that. Or if you're feeling nice and steady and stable and balanced, you can grab your elbows and just kind of swing along like a tree in the breeze. If that's not available to you, just staying in that nice forward fold. And then coming back to standing, bring our arms to our heart center and take another couple deep breaths. Again, you can close your eyes if you feel like that is something you might want to do. And bring our hands to our sides again. And then just replanting our feet, making sure we're nice and stable. Again, we're going to move into another forward bend. And just staying here for a moment. And again, you can incorporate a bit of a sway if you feel. Grabbing onto your elbows if you want. And then we're going to come upwards just into a half bend. And then back down into a full bend, trying to reach towards that ground if we're able to. And again, if you need a little bit of help with your balance, you can always grab onto a chair nearby. And then when we're ready, we're going to come down onto our hands and our knees. So we're going to have our hands placed directly under our shoulders, and then our knees are placed directly under our hips. Our back is nice and straight and aligned with the ground. And then we're going to curl our toes underneath so that our knees are supported. And we're going to start with some cat-cows. So in the cat position, we're bringing our belly downwards towards the ground, bringing our head upwards. And then we're going to transition into a cow, pushing that spine upwards towards the ceiling, bringing our head through our arms. And then just flowing between the cat position. So our belly is towards the ground. And then the cow position, where our belly is towards our spine and our spine is being pushed up into the ceiling. And just taking that nice and slow and controlled. And again, making sure just to focus on our breathing throughout our practice today. Good job. Then we're going to bring our toes together. Our toes are lying on our mats. And we're going to come down into a child's pose for just a brief moment. And back onto our hands and our knees. Our toes are tucked under. And now, if we're able to, I'm going to get you guys to push upwards into a downwards dog. So we're trying to push our feet in towards the mat. Our hands are connected to our mat, and we're pushing our bum up into the sky. If a downward dog is not in your practice today, you can stay on your hands and your knees and just taking whatever movement you want from here. Maybe you're going to go side to side. Maybe you're going to continue to do some cat-cows. Other words, we're in our downward dog. If you want, you can pedal out your feet in the downward dog. And then bringing it down back onto our knees. And we're going to go down into a push-up. So our bellies are nice and on the ground. And just taking a moment here to breathe. Good job. And then we're going to come back into our child's pose again. So pushing our bum on our feet with our knees nice and bent, our hands are out straight. And then we're gonna push back into, so we're on our hands and our knees again. And then we're just gonna repeat that one more time. So we're gonna start by getting up onto our hands and our feet. So if you want, you can roll over into a down dog, bring your feet towards the top, or you can get up however you'd like. So starting again in a standing position, our feet are nice under our hips, making sure that you have a strong connection with the ground. And we're just going to start with some nice shoulder circles again. And then switching directions with our shoulder circles. Good job. And then we're going to come into a forward fold or a forward bend. Trying to reach for that floor if we're able to. And feeling a nice stretch throughout the back of our calves, up into our hamstrings, and just releasing any tension or pressure from our low back. And if you want to, you can grab your elbows and take a nice sway in the breeze. If not, just staying steady here on our mat, trying to focus on our breath, our stability. And then coming up into a halfway bend. And then all the way up, standing nice and tall, and bringing our our hands to heart center. Taking a couple of deep breaths here. Closing your eyes if you want to. And then we're going to move into our forward fold again. Reaching down for that ground if we're able to. And then coming up into that halfway bend. And then coming down towards the ground, going onto our hands and our knees. Again, our hands are planted directly under our shoulders. Then our knees are planted directly under our hips. Our back is nice and straight and flat. And then our toes are tucked underwards. And we're going to move into some gentle cat-cows again. So again, coming into that cat, pressing our belly towards the mat, bringing our head up nice and proud. And then moving into that cow position, pushing our belly to our spine and our spine nice and curved upwards towards the ceiling. And our head is downwards. And then just switching into a cat position again. So our belly is towards our mat, our head is upwards. And then flowing back into that cow. So belly is against our spine is being pushed up into the ceiling. And we're just going to flow through those two movements at whatever pace feels comfortable to you. Making sure to focus on your breathing. Good job. And then we're going to bring our toes together, flat against our mat. Spread out your knees if you feel comfortable. And we're going to go back into a child's pose. So our bum is on our feet. Our knees are pointed outwards, and our hands are outwards against our mat. And remember, just focusing on your breathing, trying to stay present and mindful. And then if you're feeling up to it, push upwards into that downward dog. Otherwise, you can stay in your child's pose. And again, in our downward dog, nice strong hands against the floor, trying to press our heels into the floor. And our head is coming through the little window in our arms. And you can roll out those feet if you want to. And then coming back down onto our hands and our knees. Our toes are tucked. And then from here, you're going to place your right hand directly under your head. And with your left hand, you're going to open it up towards the left side. And then bring that left arm through under your right hand. And we're going to thread the needle here. If you want, you can also sit back down, so kind of in a child's pose. So this is similar to the thoracic rotations that we've done in our cool down before. Good job, and then gently coming out of that, bringing our left hand up into the sky again, and back down onto our mat. Then, place your left hand directly under your face on the ground, on the mat here, and you're going to bring your right arm upwards, open it towards the right side of the room, and then swoop that right arm through underneath your left arm, threading that needle. And again, you can sit backwards onto your feet, similar to a child's pose, if that feels comfortable to you. Good job. Swooping that arm up, the right arm through again, and then returning back to our mat with both of our hands. Good. And now we're going to switch over onto our bums. So just sitting on our mats now. And we're going to just do some positions from the seated position and also on our back. So just starting here, sitting on our mats, making sure our body is nice and connected to our mats. And we're just going to take some deep breaths together. So breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good job. And now, similar to the cat-cows that we did on our hands and our knees, we're going to do some seated cat-cows. So just taking a little baby bend in our back, and then coming through and bending the other way. So bringing our chin to our chest, pushing our spine backwards, and then just flowing through that. So again, little baby back bend here, looking upwards towards the sky, and then flowing through, pushing our belly into our spine, our chin into our chest. And taking these cat-cows at whatever pace feels good to you. So again, just trying to take some nice, deep, relaxed breaths here. And then we're going to come up into a neutral spine. So sitting nice and upwards and tall. We're going to put our hands out to our sides and then bring our palms together overhead. Then we're going to clasp our palms together. So hold your own hands. And we're going to do a little side bend to our right side. If you want, you can place your right arm on the floor and get a bit of an extra stretch here. And then coming through to center again. And moving through to the left side. And again, if you'd like to place that left hand on the floor and getting a bit of an extra stretch here throughout our right side body. And just flowing through those two positions. And let's try to do once more on each side. Again, making sure to take nice, deep, relaxed breaths. And then coming through center, bringing our hands through to our heart center. And good job. Now, we're going to uncross our legs. Place both of our legs out in front of us in a straight line. And we're going to sit up, back nice and tall. And we're just going to try to reach for our toes, really feeling a stretch throughout our hamstrings and our low back. As you can see, I don't have very much mobility here. So if something might help you, is placing that rolled towel just under your bum, just so you have a bit of height to lean a little bit extra forward. But that is not mandatory. You can do whatever feels right to you today. Good job. Then just remove those towels from your bum if you place them there. And now we're going to transition onto our backs. So, from our backs, our first movement is going to be a supine four figure. So, on your backs, you're going to have your feet nice and planted towards the floor. And I want you to extend your right foot outwards. And then place that right heel on top of your left. Then from here, we're going to take both of our hands and bring them back behind our left thigh, pulling our thighs towards our chest. If you're unable to reach, what you can take is your towel or your blanket and use that blanket to pull your hips towards your chest. The closer you're pulling those hips towards your chest, the more intense that stretch is going to be, so just be mindful of that. And again, taking some nice deep breaths here. Good job. And then nice and slow and controlled, releasing that left foot back to the floor, bringing our right foot back to the floor as well. And then with both of our feet planted on the floor, we're just going to take some windshield wipers. So just taking our knees from side to side, releasing some of that tension in our body. Good. And then bringing our feet to a neutral position again, either planted on the floor. And we're going to extend that left foot outwards. And with our left heel, we're going to place that on top of our right knee. Back into our supine 4 position. And then taking our hands or taking our towel, we're going to thread that through to behind our right thigh and pull that thigh in towards our chest. And again, the closer you pull those thighs towards your chest, the more intense that stretch is going to be. And just take it to where you feel a nice stretch. We don't want to overdo ourselves. Taking some nice deep breaths here. Making sure to breathe into our bellies. Good job. Releasing that right foot back down to the floor. And bring your left foot back down to the floor as well. Good job. And then I have a few options here for you guys. So this is going to be our last movement of our yoga session today. So we can take our rolled up towel and place it underneath our thumb. So just come into a bridge position here, place that towel underneath the thumb, and you can move into a legs up the wall, so just like so. Or if that is not available to you, then without the towel under your bum, I want you to bring your knees into your chest and give them a nice hug here. Making sure to get in some deep breaths. And if you're unable to wrap your hands around your knees, you can take your towel and use your towel to pull those knees towards your chest and your belly. Otherwise, you can do your legs up. And we're just going to hold this for a few more deep breaths. And then, if you're in the legs up the wall position, bringing those feet back down to the ground, taking that towel out from under you. And if your feet are in your chest, bringing those feet back down to the ground, extending your legs outwards, so you're just laying on the floor, and taking one final deep breath here. And then when you're ready, come and be back up in a seated position, because that concludes our yoga session. So thank you guys for following along.